These times are strange, it's quite surreal. It's never been like this. Remembering the good old days when we could hug and kiss. Back to gyms and restaurants and move through public settings. We'd give high fives and drink at dives, hold hands and dance at weddings. Now the days are longer, yet the darker in a way. We're pressing pause on normalcy, just going day by day. But we can still make jokes and art, garden, dance and sing. Cook, read books, try on fun looks and learn about new things. We can talk with friends of ours and have a heart to heart, just so long as we all stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. It's the newest thing to do. Stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. The distance between me and you, 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. And when I say I'll keep you very close to my heart, it's purely metaphorical. These times are quite historical, so step aside, let's live our lives 6 feet apart.
Hi everybody, welcome to 6 Feet Apart. So pleased you're here. I hope you liked our little thing at the beginning, which was all our adverts from some of our shows that we've done over the last 2 years, edited together. It's lovely. Welcome everyone on YouTube. Hope you're well. Put some chat, your name and where you're from in the chat, and we'll probably call some of you out during the show. Now, before we get started, I want to bring up our backstage audience. So let's say hello to everybody who's backstage with us. We just got a small one with the tellers. Hi, everybody. So excited. Lovely to see you all. Okay, so I am so thrilled for the show. Now, I don't know whether any of you know, but we did this show previously. I think we did it in September 2021, and it was so popular that we thought we'd bring it back again. Now, I wasn't quite sure, we weren't quite sure when to do it, and then Margaret and Megan got together and bugged us about it. So you can thank Margaret Burke and Megan Wells for bringing it back quicker than we were going to. But they were thrilled. So we're so excited that this thing is now it's going to be a show where all the tellers, there's 4 tellers. We've got Muriel Johnson, we've got Margaret Burke, Chetter Galloway, and Megan Wells. Each of them is going to be telling a personal story, and they're going to braid in or weave in a traditional tale as well. So it's a mixture of the two, and we think it's lovely. So I hope you do too. Now, I can't guarantee that all the stories will be children friendly. Hopefully they will, but if you've got very young ears, just be aware. It's not a kids friendly show generally, but hopefully they'll be fine. Now, we also, as usual, what we do these days is we bring each of the storytellers to our virtual stage and we interview them. Well, I'll interview them, ask them a couple of personal questions, but nothing too personal, and then they'll tell their story. So without further ado, I think I'm going to bring on our first storyteller. So tonight, our first storyteller is the wonderful Muriel Johnson. Now, Muriel was on our Black History Month show in February last year, and she told such an amazingly moving story that we all ended up in tears. So, go and look on our website and our YouTube channel, and then you'll find that story and you can watch it for free. Now, Muriel became a teacher, so just like her mother, and has now been telling stories for about 20 years, captivating audience with her quite unique style of storytelling, because she not only uses her voice, but does body movements, her expressions are amazing. She's got this amazing spirit that translates into all her stories. And she tells in schools and festivals all over the world. And you want to find out more, go to forherstories.com. Now, I first saw Muriel at the National Storytelling Festival in Fremont. And I just couldn't get over how fantastic she was on stage. She was absolutely incredible. And so I've always wanted to have her on our show again. So welcome, Muriel. Hi. Oh, Muriel, I think you're going to have to unmute. Don't we all?
Thank you for having me.
No, it's lovely. Now, Muriel, you used to live in California, didn't you? And now you've moved.
Yes.
Abandoned us. Where are you now?
I'm in Massachusetts.
Right. So it's a bit later for you. Yeah. So listen, Now, I'm going to ask everybody the same first question and a different second question. So your first question is, what has been like your most unusual or useless or funny pandemic purchase?
Well, I actually had bought a very useful thing, which was a bird feeder. And I just loved it. It's like we were all isolating ourselves, but nature wasn't. And so it kind of invited nature into my home and gave me something positive to focus on. And I still have it. I still use it. And I kind of became an amateur bird watcher because of it. So that was my great.
It's lovely. I do love the birds, I have to say. It is really nice to see them flutting around the garden. We've got lots of hummingbirds. Yeah. I did do a feeder, but it didn't work. So I haven't got the bird twitching fingers or anything. And then also you tell a lot of storytelling for kids, don't you? So I just wondered if you had a very memorable moment that you could share with us from your many, many storytelling episodes.
Well, when my daughter was younger, I would bring her with me to my storytelling gigs. She was about 5 years old, and she would sit in the front row, and I was in the middle of telling a story, and she stood up and she just blurted out the ending of the story. She's like, "Oh, I know this one," and she just tells the whole story really loud. And that was the last time I took her with me to a show until she was like 16. So.
Banned from all storytelling events. Oh, bless her. Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, right. Everyone sit back. Muriel is going to tell her story. So sit back and wait. And Muriel's story is called, now let me see if I can get this right. It is, it's translated as Lake of the Crocodiles, but it's, I can't do it. Muriel's going to tell you what the name of the story is, but failed miserably.
Lago de Crocodilo. I have a hard time saying it. Crocodilo.
Crocodilo.
Lake of Crocodiles.
Perfect. Off you go.
So in 1990, I was living in Central America in Guatemala. And I was there with my former husband, and we were young and adventurous, and we were excited to try and do almost anything. Well, we decided to go to visit this zoo that was on an island in the middle of Lake Pitan, and it was outside of the city of Flores. So we went to Flores, and we had hired someone with a boat, a little motorboat, and they were going to take us over to the island so we could see this zoo. And as we were loading into the boat, I looked down the beach and I saw it looked like logs moving in a strange way. And I was trying to focus my eye on it. And I asked the guide, I said, what is that down there? And he says, "Oh, those are crocodiles." And I said, "What? Crocodiles?" He said, "Oh, yes." And I said, "Wow, that's amazing." They were far enough away for me not to be too scared, but I'd never seen crocodiles before. And he says, "Oh, yes, they call this the Lake Pitan, which is one of the larger lakes in Guatemala." He says, "But the locals call it Lago de Crocodilo, Lake of Crocodiles." And I said, "Ooh, well, at least they can't jump in the boat." So we got in the boat and we went over to the island. It was so beautiful, tropical. It was like a mountain, beautiful trees, birds flying everywhere. And we start walking around the zoo, and we check in with the docent. There's only about 4 people there. And we're looking at all the cages, and they're dark and dank and moldy, and the animals don't seem happy. They seem a little malnourished, and we're starting to feel depressed. It wasn't a good space. So we have a few hours before our boat comes back to get us. So we decide that we're going to adventure around the island. So we start walking, and everything is just so lush and green and beautiful. And we see a path, and we start walking up the hill to this path. And we're thinking it's going to be an incredible view once we get to the top of the mountain. We get to the top of the hill, and we're shocked because we see a man sitting on a red bucket right there, just in the middle of nothing on the top of this hill. And we look again, and we look at each other like, are we seeing the same thing? And we see that this man has another red bucket beside him with a ladle in it. And he smiles at us, and he has no teeth. And he says, "Oh, hola, bienvenido, welcome, hello." And we say, "Hello." And he says, "Ooh, solo $1, solo $1." And we're like, "What's $1? What's happening?" And the man goes like this, and he presents something we didn't even notice. Right beside him, there's a concrete slide, a slide in the middle of the jungle on an island. And he says, $1, $1." And we're like, I look at my husband, he looks at me, and we're like, "Yes, let's do it." So my husband hands him $1, and he takes the ladle, he scoops some water, and he pours it on the concrete. My husband sits in the water, and he slides down fast. And then he pours some water for me, and I sit down and I shoot down like a bullet. Woo, we're going down that slide, and the slide is just so fast and curvy. And I'm shocked by how fast we're going. Our bodies lift up over on the side and up off to this side. And they're trees. It's like a wall of trees on each side of us. And because the slide is so zigzaggy, I can hardly see my husband. I'll see a glimpse of him real quick, and then he shoots back this way. And I'm thinking, "Oh, wow, oh, this is a lot. This is really fast. It's incredibly fast." And I get this thought. I think to myself, I wonder where it goes. I wonder where the slide ends. And in that moment, I hear my husband's voice, and he says, "Oh, shit!" Splash! And then the trees open up, the canopy just opens wide, and I see the blue sky above and the blue lake in front, and I shoot up like a cannon into the air, and I go splash! And when my body hits that water, it feels like I'm hitting a wall. Everything stings, and I grab onto myself, and I pull my knees up to my chest, and I sink down, down, down to the bottom of this lake. I'm panicking. It's hard to breathe. I don't know how to swim. And then I feel something bumping against my leg. And I feel like there's a shadow moving around me. I can feel that there's something moving about my body. And my eyes are squinted, and there's no sound, and everything is very kind of muddy, and I keep feeling something moving about. And then my body begins to lift up until I'm right there on the surface of the water. There's something under me holding me up. And I reach out. I'm holding on to something, and I feel that it's kind of slimy and bumpy. And I look behind me, and I see the tail. And I look ahead, and I see the eyes protruding at the top of its head. And I realize that I am on a crocodile. It's about 8 feet long. It's gigantic, and I'm on top of a crocodile. And then I hear a strange sound. And I say, um, um, uh, are you okay? Well, I'm glad you're okay. The crocodile is talking to me. I say, "Yeah, I'm okay." The crocodile says, "You're okay, because I saved your life. I saved you. You would have drowned." I say, "Yes, thank you. Thank you for saving me. Could you could you take me back to shore?" And the crocodile says, "Oh, well, I was hoping you could help me because I just helped you. I said, oh, don't cry, don't cry. Okay, all right, yeah. Well, how can I help you? I appreciate you helping me. How can I help you? And the crocodile says, well, uh, my king is sick, and I need you to help him. I say, oh, your king, like a crocodile king? Yes, the crocodile king. Oh, well, I don't know how I can help him. I mean, I used to want to be a vet when I was a kid, but I thought I'd work with dogs and cats. I don't know about reptiles. Could you mind like turning around and taking me back to the shore? Oh, I I need you to help me, like I helped you. And if you don't help, our king will die. Oh, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Okay, I'll help you. I'll help you. Okay, I'll help you with your king, and then you can take me back to shore. All right? Okay. Yes, yes. He needs a human to help him. Only a human can help him. All right. All right. I'll help. So there I am, riding on the back of the crocodile. I look up, I see the bright blue sky and the blue lake in front of me, and it looks so happy. But I'm terrified, and I look around the shore and I don't see my husband anywhere, and we're just gliding ever so slowly across this huge lake. And after what seems like hours, I ask, crocodile, cocodrillo, I don't know. Could you, how much longer? How much longer before we see your king? I really want to get back to the shore. And the crocodile begins to laugh. And as he laughs, his body is shaking, and I'm holding on tight to his sides. I say, well, what's so funny, crocodile? You're funny. You humans aren't very smart. What are you talking about? Well, I need you. The king needs you. Actually, he needs your heart. That's how we're going to save him. The only way to save the king from this sickness is if he has a human heart. Oh, oh, you you mean you mean you need my heart to save the king crocodile? Oh yes, that's what I need. Oh, 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 why didn't you tell me? You should have told me when we were closer to the shore. I don't have my heart with me. I left it on the shore. I'd be happy to give you my heart. Just take me back and I'll get it for you. What? You you mean humans don't carry their heart with them? You don't have it with you? Oh, no, silly. No, no, a heart is just too heavy. No, no, I have it on the shore. Go ahead and turn around and take me back. I will give it to you so you can help the king. Oh, oh, all right then. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So the crocodile turns his body, and it's like he slithers across the water, and he's moving fast, and I'm holding on tightly. And finally, we get to the shore, and he takes his short arms and he pulls himself up onto the shore. And he says, here you go. And I say, oh, thank you so much, crocodile. I climb off of him, and I said, I'll be right back. I'm going to bring you that heart. And then I start running. I run as fast as I can. My heart is pounding inside of me, and I'm running, making my way through the forest. And in the distance, I can hear. I hear the crocodile crying crocodile tears into the lake. Pitad. And that is the end of that.
Yay.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Oh, that was excellent. Thank you so much, Muriel. Very glad that you did make it. Thank you. Now, we've got some people on YouTube. We've got Judy Clapper. We've got Venora from Louisiana. We've also got in the backstage, we've got Nicolette Norden-Heavey from, she's from Drake's Island in Maine. We've got the lovely Alan DeBay. We've got Linda Yamoto, who's from just across the bay from me. And we've got Janice Del Negro and Lisa Heilman. So anybody else, put your name in the YouTube and we'll catch up with you after our next storyteller. So our next storyteller, we only met quite recently, actually, at one of our open mic story slams. She came and told a story about Irish luck in March. And as I said, it was really due to Margaret and to Megan that we're even having this show as quickly as we are. So thank you, Margaret, for doing that. Now, Margaret co-produces and co-hosts Backroom Stories in Oak Park, Illinois. And after a career in arts administration, she then returned to her favourite love of the spoken word. She performs all throughout Chicago and now, of course, virtually, as we can now, and connect with everybody. She's been published in Chicago Storytellers from Stage to Page, and she teaches Sharing Your Legacy classes and workshops because she believes that our stories are heirlooms, which are gifts to future generations. Isn't that lovely? She's our gift. Go and find out more about her at margaretburke.com. So please join me in welcoming to our virtual stage, Muriel Burke.
Margaret Burke.
Hi, Margaret. So how are you today? I'm not sure that I've got you unmuted, Margaret. You might have to unmute. It is the awful thing that we all forget to do, isn't it?
Yes, I'm glad to be here. It's so lovely to be here.
And you're telling from Illinois tonight, are you?
I am. I'm in Oak Park, right outside Chicago.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. So what has been your most unusual or useless or funny pandemic purchase?
Well, I guess it's a useful purchase because my hair is not naturally this color. And so, but come COVID 2 years ago, we couldn't go to beauty shops. And so I figured out that I could order some hair color online. And then my husband took to coloring it for me. So now my husband is my beautician. Who thought? He never thought he would do that, nor did I. But hey.
Oh, that's so funny because my husband does as well. I've got like pink, you can't see it, Sam, but I've got pink and blue hair at the moment because my daughter is a colour specialist, but she just does it once and then I have to top it up. And guess who has to top it up? My husband. He's got really good at that.
Right.
They've got to be useful for some things, don't they? Don't tell him I said that. Now, also, interestingly, Margaret, what you do is you use, well, you've got neuroscience. You know a lot about neuroscience and you use it to sort of work in with your stories, don't you? So why don't you tell us a bit about that? Because that sounds really clever.
Well, neuroscientists have found out that in listening to stories, that the listener's brain synchronizes with the teller's brain. And so it's a great brain exercise. And I do a lot of work with seniors. And so I talk to them and to the program people about how listening to stories really activates the entire brain. Because if I am talking about something that is delicious and juicy, the part of your brain that deals with that kind of issue lights up. If I talk about something that, like kicking something hard, that part of your brain that would get your body to do that lights up. If I talk about a leathery hand, the part of your brain that understands texture lights up. And so as we tell stories, it is like the telling of them. And I think all of us who tell realize this. It's a great exercise for the brain to be telling stories, but it's an equally good exercise for the listener to be listening to stories.
Isn't that wonderful? So you actually get cleverer when you're just listening, don't you?
Yeah.
Even more reason for more people to listen to stories, I'd say.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. Okay, right. Sit back now. Everyone, Margaret, get ready. We're going to listen to Margaret's story, which is called The Mountain. So off you go, Margaret.
Mm-hmm. My marriage had issues that felt insurmountable. My husband and I married for 15 years, got all the work done, raising 3 boys, the house, the jobs, the social engagements. But that magic, that fun, that spark between us was just not happening. So I felt sad. I felt frustrated. I felt angry. And friends advised, they said, try counseling. And I said, yeah, I tried that once. And she tried to put me on antidepressants at the first meeting. I don't need drugs. I need my husband to change. Well, a friend that knew me really well, she suggested a counselor that she thought I would like. And this woman was a young man, had a master's in divinity, was a craniosacral body worker. And I thought, hey, if nothing else happens, at least she can get rid of my headaches. So I took her number. Now, she saw clients at home. And so that first day, I walked up this winding brick walkway to this little red brick house. There was a blooming magnolia tree and pink azaleas. And I thought, charming. But charm can be deceptive. I thought, she better not talk about drugs this first time. And she's Jungian, which means dream work. And, because my husband's dreams that need analyzing, not mine. And I sure don't want some little old goody two-shoes. So I rang the bell and Ruth opened the door, and she was in her mid-60s, slight, soft-spoken, had this little neat skirt and blouse on. And I said, yeah, this really could be a goody two-shoes. Well, she led me up the stairs to her office. There were 2 chairs and a massage table. And then she said that we would talk for a little while, and then she would do some cranial sacral body work. And I thought, yeah, that body work sounds like a really good deal. So after she explained herself a little bit, she said, so Margaret, so why are you here? I said, my husband needs to change. We don't talk anymore. We just talk about the next project that needs to get done. He goes to work, he comes home, he eats dinner, he plays with the kid, he gets up and gets ready to go to work again. I thought, what about me? What about me? I need some attention. I complain, I cry, I yell. I feel like I'm turning into this nagging, bitchy wife. I've even tried the silent treatment for 3 days in a row. It's like he doesn't even notice. This is a big, it's getting to be a really big problem. Well, Ruth listened. And then she said, Margaret, I'm going to start with a story. A story? Yes. Just listen. So once upon a time, there was a woman named Mei Ling. And Mei Ling lived in a precious little house at the base of a mountain with her one companion, a beloved donkey. Mei Ling loved her house, but she did not like that mountain because rocks fell on the roof and made holes. And when it rained, she was cold and damp, and the shadow of the mountain made the vegetables in her garden sparse. So one day, Ming Lo woke up, walked outside, looked up and said, I must move that mountain. And so off she went to the wise old woman in town to seek advice. Now the wise one listened and said, Mei Ling, go home and cut down the biggest tree that you can find. ram that tree with all your strength into that mountain. That's the way you will make the mountain move. And so Mabel went home. She cut down the biggest tree that she could, getting herself and her donkey behind it. They pushed, running as fast as they could, pushing it until it rammed into the mountain. Mei Ling and the donkey fell on the ground, but the mountain did not move. She picked herself up, dusted her donkey off, and headed back to the wise woman, who said, Mei Ling, bang on your pots and pans. Take your pots and pans, bang on them as loud as you can. Shout, yell, make as much noise as you can. Frighten the mountain. That will make it move. And so Mei Ling went home. She took her one pot, and her one spoon, and she banged and banged and banged on that pot, and she shouted and yelled, and the donkey brayed, and together they made a terrible, frightful sound. Flocks of birds flew from the trees, but the mountain did not move. Back she went to the wise one with this raspy and hoarse voice. She pleaded for one more idea. The old one said, yes. Go home, Mei Ling. Bake cakes. Take those cakes to the spirit who lives on top of the mountain. He is always hungry. Gifts of delicious food make him very happy. That is the way to move the mountain. And so Mei Ling went home. She baked for days honey cakes, butter cakes, sweet cakes, and then with baskets of cake on her arm, she started up the steep cliff to the mountain. As she got higher and higher, the wind grew fierce and howled, and soon the air was full of flying cakes, and there was nothing left for the spirit. Mei Ling went back to the wise one, sobbing. I need to move the mountain to be able to live in peace. The wise one paused and said, Mei Ling, go home. Take your house apart, stick by stick. Bind them and put them in your arms. Take your possessions, bind them, put them on your head. Face the mountain and look down at your feet. Now you are ready to do the dance of the moving mountain. Lift up one foot and put it behind you. Then lift the other and put it behind you, and continue to do that for a very long time. And when you stop, look up and you will see that the mountain has moved. So Mei Ling went home. She thought it was a very strange dance, but if it would make the mountain move, she would do it. She undid her house stick by stick, bound it, put it on the back of her donkey, took her small possessions, bound them, put them on her head, faced the mountain, closed, put her eyes, looked down at her feet. And holding the rope of her donkey, she began to move. She put one foot behind her and then the other foot behind her. And she continued and continued. And truth be told, that the donkey thought it was very strange that her mistress was walking backwards, which she did for a very long time. But when she stopped, then she raised her eyes. And indeed, the mountain had moved far, far away. That's a wonderful story. My husband has to hear it. Ruth looked at me kindly, but firmly, and said, Margaret, you did not come here to change your husband. The only person you can change is yourself. And so for over 2 years, I went to that charming little red brick house. And together with Ruth's guidance, I took my inner house apart, stick by stick, bundle by bundle. And amazingly, the mountain moved. I changed. Did Don change too? Yeah, eventually he did. And we have been married 46 years.
Wow. Wonderful, Margaret.
Congratulations.
Oh, wow. What a great story. I love the blending of that together. That was so good. And what a lovely thing that you are still together after 46 years. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Great, great, great.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so now in our YouTube audience, we've got Mindy Donna from San Diego. Oh my gosh, I love San Diego. That's such a nice part of the world. And we've also got Brett and Julie Bradshaw, who've watching all the way from South Carolina. Haven't been there, so that's something on my list. So welcome. Nice to have you in our audience on YouTube. Hope you're enjoying the show as much as I am. Now, next up is a storyteller who has not been on our 6 Feet Apart stage so far, so I'm so thrilled he's here. I've heard him tell a few stories over the pandemic online, and I really, really, really like his storytelling style. And that is, of course, Chetter Galloway. And he grew up hearing his father's stories on sort of Sunday road trips. And he says that one of his favorite stories was The Talking Skull, which was about a West African cautionary tale where a man loses his head. For goodness sake, what a boys and men night, eh? He has a master's arts degree in storytelling and performed in venues such as the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Risk, the Moth, and our nemesis. We're not allowed to mention them normally. Better said than done. And he's a member of the National Association of Black Storytellers, the Southern Order of Storytellers, and serves on the board of directors for the Kuumba Storytellers of Georgia. Wow, that's a lot. So you can find out all about him at chettergalloway.com. Now, unfortunately for me, we'll tell you about this later, Chetter is also performing tomorrow night at the NSN semi-final Story Slam, because I'm performing too, as is Regina. So that's really scary because they're all such excellent storytellers, so it doesn't give me much hope. But I do hope some of you will come along and support me, but support all of us. So please give a huge virtual welcome to Chetter Galloway. Welcome, welcome, Chetter. How nice to have you on our show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. I'm excited and nervous.
Top marks. Now, tell us whereabouts you're telling from tonight.
Tonight, I am in Atlanta, Georgia, technically Decatur, Georgia, which is east of the city, but Atlanta for the most part.
Lovely. Another place I haven't been to. Lots of places I haven't been to. Now, tell us, Chetter, have you got a really daft or unusual or funny pandemic purchase that you maybe spent an awful lot of money on?
Well, I became obsessed with backdrops. I have a red one, a black one, a green one, a white one, when they were recommending all different types. I have mud cloths. I have multicolors. I have this one I got a few months ago for another performance, and I thought tonight would be perfect for telling. So yeah, I got into the backdrops during the pandemic.
Yeah, no, I started to get into them, but I keep buying cheap ones and they've all got lines down them and they don't work properly. And I've got one more that I'm going to try out. And if that doesn't work, then I'm stopping. Anyway, I do like your backdrops. I've seen all your different backdrops and I think they're great.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now, something I didn't know about you is that you're an avid runner, aren't you? So that's a bit scary. I tried running once, gave that up. Thought that was a waste of time. So tell us, why are you so passionate about it?
Well, running is very good, not just for the body, but also the mind and stories. Because on Sundays, I take my 10-mile runs and I work out story ideas and story thoughts. And when I come back from home, you have this adrenaline rush for about 2 hours of creativity that you can use to apply to stories or just work out ideas. And I like a lot of the concept races that come with running too. Like I'll be running the Peachtree Road Race in a couple of weeks. It's the world's largest 10K. And I participated in a race called the Mayor's 5K on the 5th runway, where you run on the landing strip of Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. The FAA closes down the strip for like 1 hour for us to do the race. So running just excites me. And it's, like I said, it really is beneficial.
Wow. I'd only run if I had to lose weight, and 10 miles is not something I would do on my daily run. 10 miles, that would be something that would be like seriously not happening. Well, I'm very impressed. Well done. Okay, so we're going to have some lovely creativity from Chetter now. Chetter, sorry. And he's going to tell us his story, which is called Sudden Death. So sit back.
In the kingdom of Mali, there lived a young man named Musa, who was destined for greatness. Now, not just for his intellectual acumen or musical talents. You see, Musa was being groomed to become the next king. Now, this would happen after he went through a series of rites of passages when he went through his 18th season of living. And as in many cultures, that might incorporate doing things like learning the rituals, the practices, the beliefs, or in some cases, it might involve some mystery or maybe even a little bit of magic. Well, the magic had worn out for me in Atlanta, Georgia, back in 2013, and I was fresh out of patience with the city and in need of a new zip code. Now, for years, I wanted that zip code to be somewhere on the West Coast, but just didn't have the courage to do so. However, at that point in my life, I was burnt out with Atlanta, burnt out with what I was doing, and yes, burnt out with storytelling. So something had to change. Well, when I was telling a friend of mine about my midlife crisis and my decision, they said, hey, you better go ahead and do this now, because if you don't, you probably never will. And those words stuck with me. So I made up in my mind that by the following year, I would not be a resident of Atlanta, Georgia, and set the wheels in motion to do so. Now, I had two places in mind, either Las Vegas or Portland, Oregon. And I'd visited both and ultimately decided on Portland because I love the Pacific Northwest in nature, the creative atmosphere of the city, and I had a relative that lived close by. However, when I told my friends and specifically companions of color where I was moving, they had some concerns because many people know that Portland has about an 80% Caucasian population, which is why it's often dubbed the whitest city in America. And in fact, there were laws on the books that strongly encouraged people with my complexion to live elsewhere up until the 1920s. But I said, you know what? My friend is right. People, if I don't do this now, I never will. And people are going to be people wherever you go. So in March of 2014, I hopped in my 2003 Corolla and made that 3,000-mile journey to the wild, wild west. My destination, the PDX, which took me 4 days, 3 hotel stops, and $200 in gas as I traveled through many places I'd never seen, including the frozen tundra known as the great state of Wyoming. Whereupon during my 12-hour odyssey from sunup to sundown, I experienced every type of weather you can imagine, like fog, then snow, wind, then rain, sleet, then ice. As a matter of fact, a sheet of ice at the top of the Continental Divide. And at 8,000 feet above sea level, I found out I wasn't driving a car, but commandeering a bobsled I was being used to slide down the hill to safety. But it was worth it when I arrived in Portland because it was everything I'd remembered and everything I thought it would be. From the beautiful red Rosario Gardens to the expansive Columbia River Gorge, the serenity of Multnomah Falls, and the majestic Mount Hood in the shadows of the background. But it wasn't without its challenges. Well, the day arrived for Musa to face his own set of challenges on his 18th birthday. He and his father left the safe confines of their village and their home, and even the accompaniment of guards as they too traveled across many lands until they reached the vast landscape of the desert. Whereupon his father stopped, looked around, and took 2 fingers and sunk them into the ground. He made a circle. And then he instructed Musa, get inside the circle. Musa did as he was told and listened as his father said, my son, this is where you will go through your rite of passage. This is where everything you've learned over the years will become significant. All my teachings will become important. No matter what happens, do not leave the circle. Just remember, be brave and be bold, and nothing will move you. So Musa closed his eyes and said, be brave, be bold, and nothing will move me. Be brave, be bold, and nothing shall move me. He opened his eyes, and his father was gone. And he realized that the test would soon start. He sat there as the sun beamed down on the back of his neck and beads of sweat rolled to the base of his spine. When suddenly, off to the right, a line of smoke started coming towards him. And soon emerging from smoke was this huge rhinoceros with a horn heading directly towards to impale him. Without protection, without any weapons, Musa was defenseless. But then he remembered what his father had told him. And he closed his eyes and recited, be brave, be bold, and nothing shall move me. Be brave, be bold, and nothing shall move me. And he stood there as the ground trembled beneath him, as if the earth would open up and swallow him whole. And then just as it became unbearable, it stopped. He opened his eyes. The rhino was gone. And Musa took a sigh of relief. But he didn't have long to rest, for now, from the other side, came yet another line of smoke towards him, but it was moving differently, twisting and twirling and twisting and twirling, and emerging from the smoke was a huge viper with 2 razor-sharp fangs dripping with venom. Musa closed his eyes again and recited, be brave, be bold, and nothing shall move me. Be brave, be bold, and nothing shall move me. And he stood there, once again, firmly planted like the roots of the upside down tree. And just as it seemed the earth again would open up and swallow him, it stopped. He opened his eyes and the snake was gone. Musa wondered what would happen next. Well, his third test would come just before darkness fell. You see, off in the distance, he heard voices, familiar voices. And as he looked and peered, he made them out to be his mother and his sister. And it brought a smile about his face, which was soon converted to terror. For they're creeping off to the left, carefully, cautiously, and quietly. Wow! The lion, the king of the beasts, poised and set to pounce. Musa tried to get their attention, but they couldn't see him. He tried to call out, but they couldn't hear him. And soon this predator would pounce on them and rip them to shreds. Musa had a decision to make. Should he leave the circle or stay put? Well, while I didn't face any wild animals in Portland, I did have a beast of burdens on my shoulder. You see, 1 year into my journey, I did get homesick and considered coming home. Little did I know there'd be a series of 3 events that would prompt me to make that decision sooner than expected. You see, in April of 2015, while in Portland, my sister died from colon cancer. 2 months later, just as I was about to go on a 10 gig library tour for a summer reading program, I ripped my Achilles heel. And just a few months after that, after finally finding a church to attend, my brother-in-law died suddenly of a heart attack. And due to timing, distance, and money, I couldn't make it home for the funeral. And although my family understood, that stuck with me for a while. And I realized I had to make a decision. Should I continue staying out west, or should I go back to be close to family? Musa made his decision. He leapt up out of the circle and went running towards his mother and sister, saying, "Get out of the way, move, move, you've got to move." His timing couldn't have been more perfect, for the lion leapt up in the air. Musa jumped at the same time, placing himself between his family and the animal, letting out a yell, "No!" And he fell to the ground. He looked up. The lion was gone. His family, not there. And Musa realized it had all been a mirage, but more than that, he left the circle. "Oh no," he said, "I left the circle. I left the circle." And he fell to his knees, weeping uncontrollably, until he felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked up. It was his father. He says, "Father, I'm sorry. I failed you. I failed." His father replied, "You didn't fail me, my son. You see, when you stood before that rhino, you showed strength and courage. When you stood before the serpent, you showed your resistance, your perseverance. But when you threw caution to the wind to go save your family, you showed the compassion and sacrifice it takes to be a good leader. You didn't disappoint me, my son, or fail. You've exceeded every expectation I had for you. Come now, let's go home." And they did just that. They went home. And upon arrival, the people were in the streets chanting Musa's name, cheering him on, realizing that he's successfully gone through his rite of passage. And a feast was made for him, fit for a king, well, a soon-to-be king. For afterwards, Musa went to go sit with the wise men and the elders to watch, wait, and listen until it was time for him to leave. Well, clearly, I made the decision, like Musa, to come back home and be close to my family. But I don't regret that decision or even the one to go out to the West Coast in the first place, because I had reached a place of, well, sudden death, figuratively speaking, because it was a turning point and it was time for me to reflect and reevaluate my life. And even though I came home a little sooner than expected, every time I think back and reflect back on my time out in the West Coast, it brings a smile to my face. And I remember all the connections and peoples that I made. Because one thing it reassured me is that while in life we know you can recycle paper and plastic and cardboard, the one thing you can't recycle is wasted time. And my time came when I returned home, where I came home with a new appetite for storytelling to feast on them. And after eating and getting my fill, now my time has come after watching and waiting and listening, because now I carry the cowtail switch in my storytelling organization and lead like Musa. Ashe. Thank you.
Oh, very good.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Wow. Oh, Chetter, what a fabulous story. Really, really enjoyed that. Thank you. And just love the balance of the two stories and how they fit together so nicely. Thank you. Oh, what a lovely evening. We've had such wonderful and different stories, and we've got one more story to come, not two, one. So last but so definitely not least, we have the charming and delightful Megan Wells. I do love Megan. Megan is such an amazing storyteller. She actually told a story on our traditional folktale show, which started, sort of catapulted Regina and I to love all things folktale and traditional. So thank you, Megan. You're a part of that. And that's in May 2021. So you can go back and see that. It's free. I would definitely recommend it. Go to our website or go to our YouTube channel, and then you can watch that again. Now, Megan is a respected and experienced story and theatre artist, and she's known for creating a really intimate storytelling atmosphere and infusing all her characters like as a living soul. And she delivers it all with this amazing theatrical timing. She performs in museums and symphonies, schools, festivals, and libraries, as well as helping huge numbers of people craft their stories to effect powerful change. She's the artistic director of the Ray Bradbury Storytelling Festival and was actually granted permission by Ray himself to perform his works. And there's a lovely quote from an author and professor, Reeve Collins, which says, Megan Wells is both intimate and epic in equal measure. Isn't that lovely? Epic. So please welcome to our virtual stage, Megan Wells. Hi, Megan. How are you tonight? No, you're muted too. 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
Nil.
I'm in solidarity with my other tellers.
Yes, you are. It happens to be all women, isn't it? These men, they got it. They're clued up tech-wise, aren't they?
Yeah.
Now, Megan, where are you tonight?
Because the stories are starting to braid together now too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's funny how that happens, isn't it? When you get together and that synchronicity happens. It's really lovely. Yeah. So, Megan, tell us what's your most useless, funny, or hilarious pandemic purchase?
Very briefly, I got crazed with a Facebook ad, and I purchased bonsai lotus flower pods to grow teeny tiny little mini lotus flowers. It's a lot of like what you were talking about, Muriel, that craving to have something beautiful in the in that first horrible onslaught of isolation.
Oh, well, that sounds really nice.
Yeah.
What a lovely thing to do. But didn't grow an actual tree.
No, they grew the tiniest little lily pads in a bowl on my kitchen table, but they couldn't go to full flowers. So that was all the ads. But
that's quite
the
sweet.
Lily pads were really cute.
Miniature mini pads. Yeah. How sweet. Now, the other thing you do, which I know you do lots of them, you do historical personations, don't you? I know you do loads of them, but what's your favourite? I don't know whether you can do a favourite and why.
Right. That's like asking a mom which is her favorite kid. I will tell you right now, what's very popular, people are all requesting, is my Diana, Princess of Wales. So I'm doing quite a bit of Diana Spencer right at the moment.
Yes, we did think we might do a little show with Diana Spencer, didn't we? Like a one-woman show. And then we're going to manifest that Prince Harry comes on.
Prince Harry.
We'll have a little Q&A with Harry. So we're watch this space.
Yes.
I do feel as I'm British, he really ought to.
I agree with you 100%.
So I'll have a little word with him.
Yeah.
Okay, so watch this space. We may have Megan do Princess Diana of Wales. So that'll be so fun. I can't wait. Okay, so it's lovely getting to know you just a little bit better, finding out a bit more. So sit back, and Megan is going to tell her story, which is called Sip.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down. Falling down, London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. So I'm sitting at my friend's kitchen table, and she is feeding me because I am having a really terrific pity party. And pour me this and pour me that. And she's bringing me food because she loves me. And this is how it goes. And then I hear her husband's footsteps coming up from his labyrinthian basement up the stairs, like always. And I know he's going to round the corner and poke his head into the kitchen and say, "It's so nice to see you," like he always does. Except this time on this day, I am horrified with embarrassment. Just suddenly horrified, because I think for the first time, how many times has he come up those stairs and heard me sitting here at this table complaining? Now, I will fight to the death for the right for two friends to sit at a table and feed each other and complain. It is how we survive the morass of civilization collapsing because of entropy. It's a big word. I promise I will come back to it. And so I just shut up. I literally just shut up. I'm an introvert. And so home base for me, holy, holy, ocean free, is inside. And fortunately for me, their daughter arrives just at that moment with groceries. And so of the three of them, none of them notice that I have suddenly gone silent. And I leave as quickly as I can because I have to get into my car and cry. Because I am complaining because I'm not crying. So I start to drive. I start to have a drive cry. Anyone, I mean, if we were in the same room, right? drive cry, except it's not going to be one of those. It's not going to be a drive cry. No, this is going to be one of those where I have to pull over onto a suburban street and I have to find a street that has plenty of trees, that covers the windows so that when the neighbors look out from their windows, they will not be able to see the crazy suburban lady blubbering snot in her car. It's one of those. And why? Why am I crying? Because of everything. I mean, and specifically because I had just got news from the doctor that my osteoporosis in my right hip has advanced so that now my right hip is lower and it hurts a lot. And this diagnosis feels to me at 62 like a diminishment that's a bit like putting my hand on the doorknob to open the door to my mortality. But I can't be crying about this because a few of my very dear friends are now fighting massive cancers. No, I'm actually crying because I'm an empty nester now and I miss my children with every cell of my being at the same time that I am thrilled to have my agency back. No, I am crying because mothers and others are now standing in a conflict face to face over a very thin line over the right to take care of one's own body and make choices and the right for a baby to have life. I am crying because everything is shattering, because boys who don't even have peach fuzz yet think it's a good idea for a birthday present to go get an assault rifle and shatter the souls of children and the communities and the families and the courage. Helplessness is now more rampant than COVID-19. And I'm crying because I had just read an article in the New York Times about this Ukrainian woman who is standing in her was house, meaning it was a house before the Russian warplane got shot down and crashed into her roof. There's a picture of her. She is just simply standing there holding her son's trousers, which have miraculously flown out of its blown apart dresser and landed there on the ground, still neatly folded. He is very much alive because some psychic maternal instinct called her to just suddenly bring all her children down into her basement. And I want to be her child and go down safely into her basement. It's just too much of a muchness, much. And I can't breathe. Ole, ole, ocean free. Take this grief away from me. And I'd have this wild dream that morning, this wild dream about entropy. When I was in college getting my master's degree, my theater teacher believed in entropy. He was a nihilist. If we were in the same room together, I'd make you say the word with me. Nihilist, which means that entropy was his faith. Everything is collapsing, he would say. The Big Bang expansion had reached its limits and now was collapsing backwards. Everything is falling apart. Oh, he got my hackles up. And I would argue with him. I would say, no, that's not right. Don't you know your yin and yang symbols? It was going to be a long time before I was a storyteller, but back then I was a story reader and I knew my mythologies. Everything is still expanding. It's expanding, even as it's contracting. It's expanding and contracting together. It's a tension of opposites. He said, no, it's all collapsing and falling apart. But you know, now in hindsight, I think that he really believed me and that he had chosen to be a crusty academic clinging to his tenure and would no longer risk the vulnerability of hope. So he would poke me like his favorite jukebox so that I, in my youth, would argue with my passion for the possibility of the possible. That morning, I had dreamed that college professor, and he had appeared in my dream like some big smoke breathing, violence visaged dragon, oozing sooty sorrow and apathetic despair. He was entropic. And I was lying in my bed in my dream in the pain of my hip. And all I wanted to do was climb somehow under the covers all the way to find those basement stairs to get down to that Ukrainian mother to just hold me. Too much of a muchness, much too much of a much too muchness. And it is not green eggs and ham. I can't breathe. It's like trying to shove an elephant down a straw. And then I'm still in my car. My mother appears. She has left her body and lives in soul and memory now. And the memory is so vivid, I can feel her. I can feel her hand around mine. I was 7 years old, and we were 3 days and 2 hours late for my first day at a new school. And she is dressed in cerulean blue. It is an outfit that she has meticulously sewn herself in Queen Elizabeth's favorite color. She is wearing a hat that she has sewn too out of matching fabric. Her defiance against entropy. We are a dysfunctional alcoholic family. And when I look up at her with her blonde curls about that cap as we stop at the principal's office, she leans over till we're eye to eye. And she fixes her icy blue eyes on me. And she says, Meg, honey, how do we eat an elephant? And I know the answer because we have played this game our whole life. One bite at a time. Yes, Meg. And she takes her hands and she smooths the wrinkles in my dress that she has sewn for me because she has named me Megan Elizabeth. Why am I remembering my mother? How do you eat an elephant? One bite. Oh, I'm remembering my mother because I'm grieving snot. Like trying to shove an elephant down a straw. I don't want to eat an elephant. It's a metaphor. It's just a metaphor. It's a metaphor. And the elephant melts in my imagination. It melts until it is a pond, it is a sea, it is a lake, it is an ocean. And folktale comes forward. It is a Jewish teaching story about Mendele and Yitzhak. And Mendele and Yitzhak are friends, and they sit at kitchen tables and they complain and they feed each other. But Yitzhak goes to heaven first, and Mendele misses him, and he thinks to himself, I will ascend my soul through prayer so that I will see what kind of palace Yitzhak has in heaven. And so Mendele prays until his soul ascends and he arises up into paradise and he comes to a palace, and it is the palace of the great teacher, and he listens to the great teacher, and then he calls him aside. Rashi, have you seen my friend Yitzhak? Oh yes, Yitzhak, he stopped by here on his way up. Oh, I knew he was good, said Mendele. He must be very, very good. And up he goes, and he comes now to the teacher Maimonides. And he asks Maimonides, did you see my friend Yitzhak? Oh, he stopped by here on his way up. He goes to the palace of Moses. Moses says he stopped by on his way up. And then he comes to Abraham, the father himself. Did you see my friend Yitzhak? Did he come by here on his way up? And Abraham says, no. Your friend Yitzhak came by here on his way back down. Go back into your body. Find the dark forest, the darkest forest, and go to its center. And Mendele descends back into his body, and he goes and he finds the deepest, darkest forest, and he goes to its center. And in the center is a body of water, impossible to explain, in the middle of a forest. It is unending. It seems eternal. And he sees Yitzhak, and he is sitting there at the side of it. And he goes over to his friend, Yitzhak, what are you doing? Why are you here? Why are you not in paradise, in your own palace? And Yitzhak said, oh, I was talking to the Holy One, and we were talking about my palace, but then I remembered that there is still an ocean of wept tears. And until that ocean is empty, I cannot be happy in a palace. Itzhak. I see Itzhak sitting at that melted lake of grief that is much too much and much too big. And in my imagination, I walk over to him. I say, Itzhak. He says, hello. I say, here. He says, what? I hand him a straw. Oh, says he. Oh, a good idea. And Itzhak puts his straw into the ocean of unwept grief. And I take my straw and I put it in that ocean of unwept grief. All that innocence and sorrow and loss and despair, aching to be changed into human wisdom through us, through straws. How do you heal our ocean of grief? Ocean of grief, ocean of grief. How do we heal our ocean of grief? One sip at a time. I sip, you sip. You sip, you sip. Me sip, we sip. All of us sip, sip. Oh, Itzhak, look. Where the ocean was, now there are trees. What if all this morass of contracting entropy is really a stunning, stunning birth? Thank you.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, Megan, that was spellbinding. I mean, I'm sitting by myself, but you could hear a pin drop. I mean, I bet in everybody's house there you could hear a pin drop. That was just amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to all our storytellers. I can't believe what a fabulous evening. I was even better than I thought. So what I'd like to do is bring all our storytellers back on and thank them one last time. So let's start with Muriel Johnson. Let's bring you back onto our stage. Remember to unmute, everybody. Hi, Muriel. Thank you so much for your story, for your skill and your talent. Tell us what you've got coming up and where people can go and see you next.
Oh, wow. I just finished a big series of stories. Please go to my website because I don't have a good memory, forherstories.com, and you can learn about the different places I'll be. I have some gigs actually in California in September. I'll be in Mill Valley, I think on September 18th, and I'm going to Colombia in November. So check out my website and you can.
So is the Mill Valley one something that we can all go to?
Yeah, that one is. There's an arts festival in Mill Valley, September 17th and 18th, and I'll be there.
Oh, I'm there. Excellent. Something I can actually physically go to. Wonderful. Put my calendar. Thank you, Muriel, and thank you so much for coming on our show. And let's bring on Margaret Burke. Hi, Margaret. Thank you so much. Tell us what you've got coming up.
Well, what Megan and I together are co-producing live shows this summer. We have 3 more coming up. They're outdoors. We have a stage, lights, a sound system, We're outdoors. It's like going to Ravinia. People bring their lawn chairs and their drinks, and they sit under a great big maple tree and listen to stories. So we've got one coming up in July, August, and September. And
where's that again? Sorry.
It's in River Forest here next to Oak Park here, right
in Illinois.
Yes, Illinois. But it's live. Yay. And it's so much fun. I'm
going to start traveling a bit more now, I think. Yeah. Lovely. Well, thank you so much. Loved your story. And let's bring Chetter back on as well. Chetter?
Hey.
So much beautiful story. Tell us where people can see you next.
Well, in 24 hours, I'll be at the Innocent Story Slam.
Well, Chetter, I think maybe you want to just bow out, don't you?
I'm still deciding on a story, so we'll see how that goes. And coming up Sunday, my Kuumba Storytellers of Georgia has our annual Father Tales program. I'll drop the link in there. It'll be available for viewing if you're unable to make it for up to 2 weeks. We only ask for a $10 donation, $15, $20 or more. If your heart expands that much, we certainly won't turn it down. But those are two things I have coming up.
Wonderful. And we can go and see that on your website, can we?
Yes.
Yeah, lovely. Perfect. And then let's bring Megan back as well.
There's just one thing I want to punch, and that's Moonshine Stories, Tales for a Full Moon, that Janice Del Negro and I've been hosting for 2 years on every full moon. And we're just having a wonderful time and building community. You can find us on Facebook, Moonshine Stories, Tales for a Full Moon. And we would just love this community to continue to grow every month on the full moon.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Wow. I just have to say again, thank you so much. That was an amazing, amazing show. So I'm also going to bring on my co-producer, Regina, because she is allowed a little bit of airtime.
Thanks, Claire. Thanks for letting me squeeze in here on the stage. We're going to bring up and talk about some of our upcoming shows, some of what 6 Feet Apart Productions has coming up. The first thing is on July 24th. We're hosting stories from England and the Emerald Isle. The show's a little different as all of the tellers are across the pond from us. And it's going to start at noon because, it's 8 o'clock over there. So noon for us. So think of it as a lunch show. Grab a cup of some cucumber sandwiches and sit back and relax on the couch in whatever time zone you happen to live in. It's going to be a really great show. We're very much looking forward to it. Claire's happy to have a show where everyone sounds like she does. So looking forward to that. That's July 24th. Tickets just went on sale during this show. Now, August 10th, we have our next open mic story slam. These are very popular. We've already got a couple storytelling slots that have been snapped up. You're guaranteed a storytelling spot. And this one is about the dog days, fever, mad dogs, bad luck, everything to keep you occupied during the most uncomfortable part of the North American hemisphere's summer. So dog days. And of course, you can find both those shows at sfapshows.com. Now, the Bay Area Storytelling Festival, yes, it happened in April, but it's still with us because you can still get a storytelling link. So this is a great storytelling staycation this summer. Stay in. You've got till July 31st to get a ticket and stream this. We had a great day. It was, as you can see, Sheila Arnold, Corey Rosen, Ethnotech, Diane Ferlat, Willie Claflin, and also a workshop by Corey and Sheila that's worth the price of admission alone. And you can find that link at sfapshows.com as well. And finally, a plug for us for Patreon. It's a membership subscription platform. It provides ongoing support for 6 Feet Apart Productions, which allows us to bring you amazing shows like you saw tonight. It's like public radio. Your ongoing support is so helpful, like a KQED pledge drive. If you sign up, depending on your membership level, you will get swag. So just like public radio. So you support them, support us, and you can find out that little Patreon button on the homepage at 6 Feet at sfapshows.com. So we've got a lot of our, you get free tickets too. All right. We have one member that gets a free ticket to every single show. So how about that? All right. So thanks so much. Wonderful show. Claire, you're going to take us out of here.
Yes, thank you. I just want to also give a shout out to our tech guru who does amazing stuff with all the curtains and all the borders and everything. We love him. We wouldn't be able to do it without him. Thank you to everybody who's been on our show tonight. Thank you to everybody on YouTube. Without an audience, what's the point? So thank you so much for being here. And let's say one more thing. Let's bring all our backstage audience on. We're going to stay and have a little bit of an after party. Thank you all for watching, and we will hopefully see you on our next show, which is all about me and Britain.
Tomorrow night, NSN, Claire and I going head to head.
Yes.
All right.
Come and support us. We're doing a slam with Chetter. Just don't vote for him. You can vote for him.
You can.
Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.
6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. It's the newest thing to do. Stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. The distance between me and you. 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. And when I say I'll keep you very close to my heart, it's purely metaphorical. These times are quite historical. So step aside, let's live our lives 6 feet apart.